Have you ever been part of a project that starts with this amazing, clear goal, but somehow ends up as a total tangled mess of missed deadlines and frustration? Yeah, it's a story most of us know way too well. But what if I told you there was a universal roadmap to turn that chaos into control? Well, there is, and today we're going to break it all down.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at why so many projects go off the rails. Then, we'll unpack the classic 5-phase solution that pros use. After that, we'll compare the two main ways to tackle a project, see where the industry is heading next, and finally, we'll wrap up with why all this stuff actually matters for you.
All right, let's just be real for a second. Even with the best intentions in the world, a truly shocking number of projects just, well, they don't go according to plan.
Now, get a load of this number. A major industry survey found that only 38% of projects are actually finished on time. Let that sink in. That means the majority, a whopping 62%, are late. Think about all that wasted time, money, and energy. It's a huge problem.
So, the real question is, how do you make sure your project doesn't become just another one of those statistics? Well, the answer isn't about luck or just working crazy hours. It's about having a solid, structured framework to guide you.
And this is where that framework comes into play. To bring some serious order to all that potential chaos, professionals rely on this proven universal roadmap. It's called the project lifecycle.
The official definition calls it the series of phases a project passes through. But honestly, just think of it as the master blueprint. It's a structure that works for pretty much everything, whether you're building a new app, launching a marketing campaign, or even constructing a skyscraper.
Now, this whole lifecycle is built around 5 core stages. It kicks off with initiation. That's where the idea gets the green light. Then you dive into planning, which is, creating the detailed roadmap. Execution is next. That's when the team actually does the work. While that's happening, you're in monitoring and controlling, basically keeping an eye on everything to make sure it stays on track. And finally, you get to closure, where you wrap it all up and hand over the final result.
So, the big takeaway here is that these 5 phases are the what you have to do. They are the absolute fundamental building blocks for any project. But how you actually move through them? Well, that's where things get really interesting.
So while those 5 phases are basically set in stone, there are 2 main philosophies on how you actually travel that path.
On one side, you've got the predictive method, which you'll almost always hear called waterfall. It's very traditional, very plan-driven. On the other side is the adaptive method, better known as Agile, and it's all about being flexible. Now, this is super important. These aren't replacements for the 5 phases. They are just different strategies for navigating through them.
This graph right here, it perfectly shows the core trade-off of that predictive model. You see how risk and uncertainty are highest at the very beginning. But look what happens to the cost of making changes as you go along. It just skyrockets. So the whole goal here is to define every little thing right up front, to lock in your costs and avoid those super expensive changes down the road.
And this is exactly why they call it waterfall. See how the work just flows from one phase to the next in a sequence, just like water going over a fall? You have to finish one stage completely before you can even start the next one. This approach is absolutely perfect for projects where you know exactly what you're building from day one, like a house with a locked-in blueprint, right? You're not going to change the foundation after the roof is already on.
The difference here could not be more clear. On the left, you've got waterfall, which is like a straight line to one big delivery at the very end. But on the right, you've got Agile, which is a series of loops. It's about delivering value in small functional pieces all along the way. Think about it like developing a mobile app. With Agile, you don't just disappear for a year and build the whole thing. No way. You build and release one key feature, get feedback from actual users, and then use that feedback to figure out what to build next. You're adapting to reality instead of just blindly sticking to a plan.
This table just breaks it all down perfectly. Look at how they handle change. Predictive tries to prevent it as much as possible, while Agile says bring it on. Or look at stakeholder involvement. In a waterfall project, they might check in at a few big milestones. In Agile, they are involved constantly, giving feedback that literally shapes what the team works on next. It is a completely different way of working together.
But hang on, the story doesn't end there. The entire field of project management is evolving, and it's shifting its focus from just following a process to delivering real, actual value.
So the folks who write the official guidebook for this stuff, the PMBOK, they've made a major shift. They're moving away from a super rigid focus on process, like did we check all the boxes in the right order, and moving towards a much more integrated system that's all about performance. The big question now is, are we actually getting the right results?
So instead of just asking, did we follow the process, the focus is now on these 8 interconnected areas. It's really a shift to asking much better questions. For example, under stakeholder and team, it's not just about having a plan. It's asking, are our stakeholders truly on board? Is our team actually working together well? Under delivery and measurement, the question becomes, are we delivering things that people actually find valuable? And how do we even know? It's a much more holistic, outcome-driven way to think about what success really looks like.
Okay, so after all of that, let's bring this all home. Why does any of this matter, especially if your job title isn't project manager?
Here's the bottom line. Whether you go with a predictive or an agile approach, this life cycle gives everyone a common language and a shared roadmap. It takes a huge, intimidating goal and breaks it down into small, logical, manageable steps. And that clarity, that's what builds collaboration, cuts down on risk, and ultimately leads to way better results.
And that brings us to our final question. And this one's for you. Think about the projects in your own life, at work, at home, anywhere. Are they predictable, with a really clear end goal, making them perfect for that waterfall approach? Or are they full of uncertainty and constantly changing, where an agile mindset would be a total game changer? Knowing which paths to choose, that's the first and maybe the most important step toward turning chaos into control.